Hey, so today is about you kids. It's one for the kids because we'll be talking about something that you probably heard about 100 million gazillion times before this. We've heard it on the radio, on TV, on social media. Everybody's talking about it, and everybody's telling you not to do it. What is it? It is cyberbullying. Yes, I'm actually taking cyberbullying as the context or the precursor context of this conversation that we're having here today, because this is Renyi and he is with MyBurgerLab. And they have had the unfortunate experience of having to go through an unsavory exchange communication with a young person who has reached out to them. And you know what? I want you to learn from this experience. I don't want to tell the story. Renny, why don't you tell the story? Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
He has had quite the month. If I can.
Well, it was more of a week, actually.
Oh, actually, yeah, it's more of a week. Why don't you tell the story? What actually happened? I want to hear it from your perspective, because these guys, they can just go and Google it. But yeah, we want to hear from you.
All right, I'll try to keep a simplified version of this.
No, we've got time.
All right, so what happened basically was that we received a message from a student who said that he was looking for someone to talk to in the business about his school project. And it was around 1 o'clock that the message came in.
In the afternoon.
In the afternoon, okay. And we said hi. Then
was this on a weekday? Sorry,
it was a weekday. It was a working day. Well, for a restaurant, every day is a working day. So he messaged at around 1 with a hi, and then we messaged back hi. I think within half an hour, and then within half an hour he replied again saying, "Hey, I'm from this school. I need to do an assignment. Can you guys help me out?" So what happened was we didn't answer him within 3 hours, and he shot a message out before we could answer.
Right.
And he said, "This is a shit company." I'm not sure if I can cuss here, but that's what he said.
Yeah.
Right? This is a shit company, and something along the line.
Right.
And
something not nice.
Something not. Well, it was shit was as bad as it got.
Yes.
Right?
Okay.
And usually my PR team, my marketing team is the one that handles it. And occasionally I do check in on their work. All right. So when the message came in, "This is a shit company," because I didn't see the conversation before.
Right.
And I was like, wait, did we screw up and give this customer a really bad experience?
Yeah.
Then open it up.
Because that would be the first thing that comes to your mind.
Yes.
You know, running a food
operation. We do get that
operation.
occasionally when we mess up.
Yeah.
And I'll take
not very often, I'm sure.
Not very often, but people can get angry. I understand. You know, they pay good money for their food. Anyway, the point is, to my surprise, when I open it up, I go like, wait a minute, looking at this, and I thought, okay, could my team not have replied him for 3-4 days? Still not warranted, reply, right? Yeah. And I go like, wait, it's only been 3 hours. And that's when I replied back, and I said something along the line that, "Thank you for showing us who you really are. Good luck with your assignment."
Right. So he was trying to get you guys to help him out for his assignment.
That's right.
You didn't reply in record time, and you got quite a response.
Yes.
To which you said, "Okay, thanks for showing who you truly are. Good luck."
Yeah.
And did it stop there?
I stopped. I wanted to stop there.
Okay.
Now, just a disclaimer. Usually for sponsorship requests or schoolwork, we always wait until the end of the day. Most of the replies that we will go for.
Hence why I was asking if this was a weekday, because I can imagine that 1 o'clock is lunch hour.
Well, I mean, this is the office team. They do work during those time as well. But if there's a complaint or, hey, my food wasn't delivered, we do respond within the half an hour usually. But again, if it's a schoolwork, we will always push it back. We'll tag it, and then we'll push it back to end of the day reply.
Right.
Because it's not of our highest priority.
Right.
So when I replied in kind, well, I wouldn't say in kind, but when I replied and said that, hey, good luck, I was basically establishing that, hey, I'm no longer interested in the conversation.
Right.
And that you shouldn't be saying stuff like that.
Literally putting a stop to it there.
And then, of course, he continued and saying, yes, I knew it. This is a good company. And
so he continued to berate you.
Double down, right?
Right. Okay. Right. Okay.
And that's where I said, I hope you don't kiss your mom with that mouth.
Right.
Which is a common saying, which I was quite
surprised.
Yeah,
it is, yes. But a lot of people actually, I was reading the comments, and a lot of people actually
why did you drag the mom into the picture?
Yes,
so,
exactly.
Yeah. That's for another discussion, I think. And he finished off with, I knew it, you guys are shit. And he basically, after that, blocked me off.
Right.
And I go like, oh man, he had the last word.
Right.
But again, then reflecting back, I was thinking, you know what? I would make an example of this individual. We have done this before, actually. However, usually it's just a screenshot of the conversation. And I think this time, I don't know, maybe because MCO and there's a lot of things going on, I was under a lot of stress. I was like, okay, let's put this guy under the spotlight. But I also didn't want to you know, and I did put the thought out there to say, hey, I don't want there to be cyberbullying. I don't think this guy should be like ousted out, his address and everything out there. So I went to his profile, had a quick look. Well, I couldn't go through his profile through the business account because he blocked us, but I could search him up on our individual, you know, on my own profile. And I realized that it's a fake account.
Right. Okay.
Pseudonym, you can't really find who, he has no profile picture. So it was one of those accounts.
Right.
I thought, okay, let's have some fun with it. And since in my head, the roasting culture is what I see on YouTube, where it's just calling people out in their face in good humor.
Okay.
Right. So I didn't think too much about it. So I posted the conversation. I posted his profile up because it was a pseudonym. I felt that it wouldn't have put too much harm to him personally. I said, slow content day, roast this guy. Something along that line.
Those lines, yeah.
And that's when it started.
Right. Okay.
Now, then I realized, okay.
And you responded using the business account rather than your own personal.
Yes, I did.
Mm-hmm.
Because BurgerLab as a business account for the longest time, we have been very upfront. You know, whether it's someone stealing our plants and then we're posting it up there with a CCTV of that person. I mean, our content has never been traditional. It's never been, hey, you're a business account, stay out of politics, stay out of this, stay out of that, right? We feel that MyBurgerLab is a brand from day one that communicates clearly what's on our mind,
right?
Whether it's our opinion on politics.
So in other words, you're not scared to use the voice of the company.
Yes.
Okay.
Right. So I posted that, and of course, the first few minutes was like, oh yeah, you know, this guy is a jerk, this and that. But then there was the second wave, which is, hey, this is cyberbullying. And that's when it started. I started realizing, hey, wait a minute, am I cyberbullying? Because there were a lot of people calling this post out.
Calling you out.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I kept thinking about it. I said, look, at the end of the day, yes, I do feel that I like to think that I'm a very empathetic person. So I do feel where they are coming from. And that's why I started editing the post accordingly, right? And
came up to about 5 post edits.
6 edits.
Very
within the hour, because I felt that, hey, this is our brand. If I delete it, it would not be us. But I wanted to show that a brand can learn on the go. A brand can hear the voice of the people and say, hey, we're editing. But of course, this is a world where if you make one mistake, that's pinned on you for the rest of your life. It feels like that, right?
Absolutely.
But I stood by my ground. I said, look, I'm doing the right thing because I need people to know that we in the service industry, we deal with a lot of abuse, right? Now, abuse, again, is a spectrum, right? But verbal abuse is stuff that we deal with almost on an everyday basis. Some good, some bad, right?
Hold on. So before we go on to that context, that's already, you know, unpacking the issue. But let's address, or rather let's recap the key points there. So he was being a jerk. You reacted to that, and you called him out, but then the public ended up calling you out.
That's correct.
Right. So from where you are sitting, your actions, do you personally feel that what you have done amounted to cyberbullying?
So I immediately stood my ground and say, look, if you're calling a bully out, you're not bullying. But there is an argument, but you guys are the bigger guys. You guys have 100K followers. You know, you're trying to attack this one person. But at the back of my head, I know this guy will walk off scot-free because his account cannot be tied to a real person, right? So I stood my ground and said, look, if someone, a celebrity, right, a female celebrity, was sexually harassed, right, is it not her right to call out this person and put his face out there, right? So I'm not comparing. It's not, you know, apple to apple or orange to orange. But to me, a bully is bully. Right. Right. On what form? It really depends. Now, for us, I felt that it was unprovoked.
Okay.
If we messed up, you call us anything, I'm okay. Just don't touch my family, right? But this was unprovoked. And when it was unprovoked, I felt that, look, we should tell people and young people who is trying to do an assignment that this is absolutely not the right way. And we need schools, and I did tag the school, to know that, hey, some students are doing this. Because you'd be surprised, and I'm sure you guys do receive CVs time to time from students. It's atrocious. Sometimes it's just, need a job, and then here's a CV, or here's my CV, or there's no CV, it's just a PDF file of their resume, right? And I think this was the epitome of how bad things are with the education system. So I decided, hey, you know what? I need the world to know this is what's going on.
Was the fact that the account was a pseudonym account and it was untraceable to an actual person the thing that gave you the confidence to say, okay, let's use this as an example?
Exactly. Because with, like
so
I
you're
said,
saying you wouldn't have done it if it was...
I would have done the same thing, it's just without his profile picture. It would have just been a conversation with the name blanked out.
But you also, so I think the thing that everybody is calling you out for is the fact that you said, roast this guy,
Yes.
A. B, you tagged his school.
Yes.
Right. And that was because one would argue, okay, you cannot get to the person, so let's get to the institution that this person is attached to.
Yep. So here's the thing, and I don't want to put on record that because we work very closely with tailors, with Berjaya School, because we are in the hospitality and culinary business, right? We do work very closely with them. However, there are incidents where cases like this, where either students ask us to record. So they would say, hey, can I send you 5 questions? And then type it out for me.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
God. Yeah, we get it all the time. Yeah.
Right, and usually we would not do it because we don't have the time. And what we would do, we would say, how about this? I will WhatsApp, my answer to you. You type it out. That's fine. And most of them are okay. But there are some incidences where they go like, oh, why don't you guys just help me? You guys are being lazy. They weren't rude, but they were calling us for being lazy. And in these instances, we actually do screenshot this stuff and send to the school. And unfortunately, half the time, we don't get anything response
back.
So if you want to respond, and that was, to me, the perfect example to say, hey, schools, you got to do something. Too many lecturers are sending their students out to say, hey, go interview a company. These are the questions, but without telling them how to write a surat rasmi. I don't know, at least back in my day, we were taught how to write a surat rasmi.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I just wanted, for us, if you check back to our history, we do a lot of PSA. Whatever we believe to be right, to be something that needs to be shared and educated, we put it out there.
Right, yeah. So, okay, so we've established what already happened, and we've gone through some of the ramifications. I want to go into the next part of this interview, but before I do that, so what were the key learnings that you would say you emerged with throughout this experience, and how have you tried to put both yourself, the institution that was attached to that person, and that person into a better place?
So I think in hindsight, what I would have done differently is probably not say roast him, because my context of roasting a person in jest, in fun, right, rather than I think what people were saying, go kill yourself and whatnot, which was exactly not my point. In fact, after I changed to say that, hey, for those that are concerned about him, go and educate him. But people even that read it as go and educate him, teach him a lesson. And I'm like, oh guys, this is crazy.
Yeah.
But I kept all the.
But that's social media, isn't it?
Exactly.
Or that's just unregulated communications. It can be taken in a million contexts.
Exactly. So I think for the student and for this case itself, I don't think I would have done too differently because I think I created a lot of conversation between schools. We have obviously Berjaya themselves reaching out to us and actually apologizing. I said, no, this is actually not entirely your fault, right? There's no apology needed from the dean themselves. But I said, look, we're talking now. And these are the records.
And that's good.
And that's good.
Yeah.
I think conversation is good. Too many times, honestly, in fact, culinary and hospitality schools don't care about businesses like ours. A lot of times, their main client are hotels because a lot of their students are trained to go into the hotels to work. Us small local businesses aren't usually encouraged as a platform to pursue a career.
Right.
Surprisingly, right?
Right.
But
Just
right
weird.
now, yeah. And the funny thing is, in this context, because of how hotels are actually either unfortunately shutting down or not being able to function, they start turning to us and they start hearing what our struggles are and how we can work together. And I saw this as an opportunity to just have that dialogue and say, hey, you know what, supporting hotels are great, but that's us too, the local champions, right?
Right.
So anyway, I think we've differed a little bit more. Would I have done anything different apart from, roast this guy? It should have been something along the context. Look at the quality of students we get nowadays, or something along that line. Again, maybe that could have been taken out of context.
Yeah.
But all in all, I think it was a very healthy discussion. As you can see, 1,000+ comments back and forth. We didn't say a thing. All we did, we just edited the post as we went to ensure that nothing was erased. Things that we felt was bad, like roasting, we took it off. But everything else, every edit.
But you put a disclaimer there that this was what you edited out.
Yes, that's correct. Because we wanted transparency, and that's how we've behaved, how we've communicated all this while.
Yeah.
So this would have been no different. We wanted to show people that, hey, if you, at least for social media crisis, this is how it's supposed to be done. A lot of times, it's just a simple delete. But once you delete it, then they're going to start taking your other posts and go like, oh, deleted that
That's
post.
literally just sweeping the dust under the carpet.
Yes, and the thing is, they won't let you go.
Yeah.
So I was adamant that let this conversation continue. I only update the main post. Let the both side. You will see that there are people who think that it's okay. There are people who think that this is absolutely wrong. And that dialogue is interesting because at the end of the day, what you see is that the whole situation is not black or white. And this is the world we live in. Too many times we try to see things as black or white, whether someone is right or wrong. A lot of it is gray, right? And I think that's how we should be taking all this crisis or drama forward, to say, look, it's not about how your perception is, it's about what the general perception is, and have that dialogue, talk about it. But of course, in the comments, you have some really good conversation going on. Then you have those, you're an idiot, you know.
Of course, yeah.
But
it's always,
that is
again,
internet.
like you say, it's a gray area, right? So there are many shades of gray as well. So,
Exactly.
yeah, understood. So I want to leave that there because actually it's quite a fascinating read if you look it up.
If you have the time.
Yeah, because you've got this side of argument and you've got the other side of argument. But one thing that called out to me or really popped out at me is the way you responded on your own post, where you owned up to it and you said that was you who wrote back to this person. It wasn't a member of your team, it was yourself, and you took full accountability for it. And you went on to say that this was done because you were protecting the brand that you love. So you've built your life around this brand, and this brand has become a part of your life, and somebody is trying to hurt it. And you took a stand. So this is what I want to walk away with. I want to understand from an entrepreneur's perspective, from a business owner's perspective, how far can you go to protect the brand, and before you say, enough is enough, like you said earlier.
I think it's about consistency. Again, me communicating through my brand is something that we have done over the years. Whether I sign off as Renyi or whether I write the post myself, we've been always very engaged, or I've personally been very engaged in how we talk to the customers. And this situation allowed me for me to react the way I do. Of course, it's not saying that, it's not saying that anyone can pull this off, because if you've not been engaging with your customer that way, and you suddenly just turn on the switch and go like, hey, I'm here, I'm hip, I'm vocal and whatnot, then that's not going to jive. I think throughout the whole MCO, I've signed off a lot of posts, very transparent posts about how the business is doing and whatnot. I sign off as myself. And I think there are a lot of people who still relate to that, hey, behind this brand is someone who founded this brand, who still is in the everyday of this business. And I think because of that, I think a lot of people empathize with that. I know that there's still going to be naysayers. I knew that there was still going to be a lot of people who say that, oh, he's a boss, that's why he can do this. I don't think that's the case. I think it's that ability to say, hey, this person has been associating himself with this brand for the longest time, and I can see where he's coming from. Now, I'm not saying you should say I'm right, but at least hear my side of the story on why I did what I did, right? Again, if someone is going to come up to me unprovoked, or anyone else here, and they start calling, your baby, your hard work, as crap, I think you will get emotional. And there is a lot of advice to say that, oh, you are a professional company, you're a corporate company, blah, 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 blah. You should be professional. I think to make a brand great, it needs soul. The same fire that we have to make sure that our team is treated well, the same fire and passion that we have to make sure every customer is served a good burger, and if they are not, we fix it, we make a better one for them, right? It should not stop there. It would translate to how we react when somebody attacks us.
Right.
Right? Because if you are able to just say, hey, we are passionate about making food and this only, right? And when somebody attacks you, you're suddenly professional, I feel that where's your soul, right? Your soul encompasses who you are, and as a person, you have a range of emotions. You can't always just be positive. You can't always just be, I mean, there will be times where you will feel vulnerable, you will feel angry, but to what extent you reply is different, right? As you can see, while he attacked me in the beginning, my reply was, thanks for showing your true self. I was angry, for sure, right? So I think a business, when people talk about humanizing business, they only talk about trying to emulate the idea of being a human. If a lot of times
the strengths of it, but not necessarily the weaknesses
exactly.
of being a human.
Exactly.
Right.
One thing
because one would argue, I'm sorry. to interject, one would argue you're a business, you're a brand, you are inhuman, whilst the values may be human in nature, but at the end of the day, you are a brand. So this sort of engagement is not supposed to happen.
Yeah. And I think there are a lot of brand leaders that have great brands, such as FashionValet here, but I think the brand leaders themselves separate that entity. This icon here, he or she can have his own thoughts, right? And if someone bash or whatever, now it's isolated. The brand doesn't really take too much, of the hits. But I'm not one. In general, I'm an introvert. I don't know if you can tell.
Definitely.
This is trained
not from this interview.
This is trained. But I don't usually put myself in the general limelight.
Okay.
And my brand is my escape, my way of portraying my alter ego.
Okay.
Right, if I may say that, because the brand is very out there, right? So to me, I think the difference is I've merged a lot of my personality into MyBurgerLab. A lot of what MyBurgerLab is, I would dare say 60% of it is me, right? The other 40% is, of course, the wholesome team that I have, and them interjecting their personality into the everyday experience. That's what makes up the rest of it. Because I feel that as a founder, as a co-founder of the brand, it is important for me to drive, the voice of the business, at least in this early stage. Yes, we are 8 years in. I still see this as the infancy of the business, right? And if my voice is there and my passion is there, I don't see anything wrong personally where we sometimes showcase our vulnerability.
Okay, let me throw a spanner in the works there. I hear you. I understand. It is about channeling yourself through the brand, and thus with it, the passion that you have for the brand itself. However, you've rightly put it as you saw this as an infancy stage for the brand. Will this be something that is sustainable? And I'm asking on behalf of anybody out there who possibly has a brand or is thinking of creating a brand. So you've got to start somewhere, right? You've got to start small, and that brand is you, and you are that brand. But if you are fortunate enough and you have the tenacity enough to actually grow the business out into something that's far larger, is the same mode, the same method of communication still applicable for bigger brands? So the reverse question would be, would it be okay for big brands to react the way you have when dealing with this sort of stuff?
Honestly, I'm not in a position to answer. I can't. I think every single brand is different.
You must have projected this.
Sorry?
You must have projected this at some point.
Well, a lot of times people have to understand that when we speak from our point of view, it's not trying to tell someone what to do. Every brand, every entity has its own. I can't tell you how to live your life. Just the same thing. again, one thing that I wanted to say just now is that Burger Lab, we have always seen ourselves as, how to say, a human person. When people ask what makes Burger Lab successful, right? And I would attribute it to the three things, which is the three of us partners. Each of us comprises different element of what it takes to be a human being. And to me, that is the hands and the leg, someone who can do work. So that's my partner, Chang Ming, right? You need something done, you tell him, gets it done, all right? Then you have Wicket, who's the business person, the smarts, the brains, right? Whenever in the early stages, we didn't know how to do certain things, HR stuff, whatnot, he'll settle it, right? On the legal side of things, how to run the business, he got that done, right? And then, more importantly, that's the heart. And I think I'm the heart of the business, right? Where the passion is driving the business. And that's what completes a human, for the most part, right? Where you have the will to do things. That's where the hands and leg represents. Where you have a solid head on your shoulders to really be logical, to think about things. At the same time, you have heart, right? While let's say you have a breakup, right? It's a heartache moment. You don't say, hey, you know what? I'm gonna find there's other more fishes in the sea. You're still gonna feel the pain. So I think a business should embody that. And all of us are different. Yes, we do have our hands and legs, we do have our brain, we do have our heart, but who we are, our soul, our personality, it's to your crafting. So to long answer short, I still can't give you an answer. I don't think I can say, hey, this brand should behave in such. If it's within your DNA, if it's within your values, go ahead. For us, our values is very straightforward. We call shit out. If we see injustice...
And you have been doing this.
We have been doing it. Right? But we can't call all the shit in the world out.
Of course, yeah. But so you let some slide, lah.
Yes. So, because at the end of the day, it's a business platform. For example, like right now, we talk about MCO, we talk about the SOP of MCO all the time. A lot of businesses don't do that. I feel that businesses should encourage more of that talk. Too many times, at least in my industry, businesses are only talking about, hey, this is our new product, this is our promotion right now. And I understand we need to make a business, but we are forgetting that we dictate how people behave as well. And for us, we can only lead by example. So every other day, we are posting stuff about, hey, remember, you got to do this, you got to wash your hands, you got to wear your mask, and so on and so forth. So I think the business should have a balance of being a business and a balance of being human. And that ratio is up to you.
So on that note, and since you've brought up MCO, where do you stand on either taking your fans, your supporters, your customers along with you on a journey, on the journey that you are going through? So if you're going through hardship, take them along with you. If you are having a good time, take them along with you even then. Or scenario two, to have a facade where business is business and everything is okay, and I don't need to give you any point to be concerned about.
Well, again, I can only speak from BurgerLab's perspective.
From your perspective, I'm asking.
So I feel that taking them on a journey is what sells the story. People like a brand because they understand the people behind it. And I think that should be a part of the communication of the business. It shouldn't be 100% of it. People don't want to know every single thing of what you do. But it's nice to know that, hey, these are real people behind the brand.
Right.
The thing about brands that are just 100% just thorough, just on selling, right, is that you can lose that loyalty very easily. Another brand...
Because there's no affinity.
There's no affinity. Right, someone else can just come over, offer a better product, better price.
Then you're done.
Then you're done.
Right.
Right. People relate to people better.
I understand, and I hear you. Okay, so now let's talk a little bit about the MCO and whatever stage of MCO that we will be in right now. Everything is in a limbo. You did say that the implementation of the SOP is something that you guys are shouting out about right now because it is important. Because you are part of the creating of the culture of the new norm, right?
Exactly.
However, business-wise, what have you done to gear yourself up for the possibility of another downward slope?
For the last few months, I wouldn't dare say it's a super struggle. We definitely were in a better spot than most people, to be honest.
What would you attribute that to?
I think for the longest time we have a very strong brand presence, and when people couldn't go out to eat, a lot of restaurants also were closed. People opted us as an option on GrabFood because they saw us all the time. We've been on GrabFood for a very long time. We have a decent reputation on there, so it was a brand that people trusted when in the time of crisis, right? So for the most part, we were okay. Although there was one month where it was a little bit scary, we dipped way below our profit line, and we did call out for help. But that's for another story. Right now, I think if we go into another MCO, the problem is it's not the same as when it was March. People have a lot less money now. People have not gone back to work. Well, there's still a lot of people who haven't gone back to work. There were a lot more people that were laid off, right? The thing is, this is unprecedented. You and I all of us have not gone through this before, right? And what the repercussion of having an economy shut down and having people lose their jobs, we will not see the effect until at least the next 3 months, or at least until the moratorium ends on the bank side. So these are things that, if we go into another shutdown, it is a catastrophe. A lot of businesses will close and will never reopen again. For us, we really don't know how things would be. We don't know if we will still get back the same support as we did during MCO, whether people still had the budget to do so. So it's tricky. We don't want to go into that. And if things, really go south, I'm not too sure if the generation that, including myself, that is living through this era, is capable of surviving, just eating bread for months. Stories that you hear from your grandfather, grandmother, or not. Yeah, potato. Or not going on holidays, right? I mean, we saw the reaction of people once RMCO was launched. People went out. Right, people went traveling interstate. There was no fear, right? And I think it's a phenomenon that a lot of people call it revenge shopping, revenge holiday, revenge Raya. Yeah, revenge Raya, right? Which is, I think, this weekend.
Yeah, this weekend.
Yeah. So I'm not too sure if this
people are willing. It's not just about if people can, but it's also what people are willing to, because the willingness will actually create a sense of direction for how you are going to be thinking about things. And on the side, we were talking about how mental issues is actually a real thing, and the kinds of triggers that we have today is different. But from a business perspective, are you going to be doing anything differently if we went through another MCO?
I think, knowing what we went through, we wouldn't change too much. Thankfully, because of MCO, we were able to diverse what we usually do. So right now we have a mart style project where you can come in and you can buy buns, patties, cheese, and whatever else not, if you want to make your own burger lab at home. It started off as a home kit.
I almost ordered that yesterday
for
lunch, and I realized, wait, hold on, I'm in the office, I can't cook this myself.
But yeah, we have that. We have our breakfast set. We have a lot more collaborations going on. I think we are more ready for sure. However, as I mentioned, there will be a phenomenon where I think people realize that their pocket are a little tighter, and that's where, hey, do they still want to spend 25 ringgit on a gourmet burger, right? So we're still working on a range of products that is closer to 15 ringgit, and see how people react to that. In fact, the ironic part is we actually did roll out 2 burgers that are within the 15, 16 ringgit range. Our burgers are usually in the 20 ringgit range. Just to say, hey, if you still want to enjoy a good BurgerLab burger, you have these 2 range, and they are great burgers. I love them. One is a Siam burger, one is a Nale burger. Anyway, the point here is that at first people went for it, they tried it and they loved it. But slowly we see that they started going back to the more expensive burgers. But like I said, we won't see the effects of it.
Because they're good.
Oh, thank you, thank you. But yeah, I think people are not shopping based on price point yet. And my sales has still been as good as it was pre-MCO, thankfully. But we are wary. We are wary of what the potential can be when worst case scenario comes.
Right. Okay. So there are many things. There are many golden nuggets of inspiration, of motivation that we could pick up today. But I love the fact that if there's anything that you will be walking away with from this interview after listening to this, I want you to re-emulate what Renee was saying earlier about how brands is an embodiment of the people behind it, and therefore defend it if you must, There's always more than one way to say things, and it's okay to rescind and actually rethink back the steps, but always think about how to do things right, because you love it, and therefore you must do everything you can to, safeguard it, right?
Exactly.
Great, Renyu, thank you so much for your time. You've been with me, Dino Omar, on FV Talks, and this is Renyu from MyBurgerLab. Burgers really set up, I kid you not. I first had it like 8 years ago, and I've been a fan since. So I hope you are hungry now, because you can go and get yourself some burger, but more importantly, I hope you are now motivated and inspired enough. So I'll be seeing you again in the next FV Talks. Bye.